Hey everyone, welcome to This Pop Culture Peach. I'm Robin McIntyre, ready to talk about all things pop culture. Featured this week on the show, we've got Avatar 2, something weird that happened in pop culture this past week, and some news on TRL. But first, let's get to some news. So this past week, I don't know if you guys have been noticing, but there's been a hashtag PuberMe challenge going around on Twitter. It's not much of a challenge, but based on my pictures of me when I was at age 13, it's a challenge. So basically the story is Nick Kroll, who is a comedian, of course. I know him from Parks and Rec. He plays the douche, which I despise, but really funny character, I guess. So Nick Kroll and Stephen Colbert, they're asking celebrities to share their awkward photos from whenever they were 13. And the point of this is to raise money for relief in Puerto Rico because of the hurricane. And they're doing this by Stephen Colbert is donating money from sales that he gets from his Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Of course, that is his American Dream flavor. I've not had that yet, but, so he's donating the sales from that, and then Nick Kroll is going to match those donations. And, of course, it goes to help Puerto Rico. So a lot of people have joined in on this. Reese Witherspoon, Conan O'Brien, Jimmy Fallon, Andy Cohen, Olivia Wilde, lots of people. And I've retweeted my favorites on my Twitter if you want to go check them out. But my top favorite has got to be John Oliver. Of course, John Oliver has his show Last Week Tonight on HBO, and I watched the show, but this photo is so good because it looks just like him now. Obviously, it's the same person, but it's just the best one. It's the most embarrassing one in my opinion, so the fact that he posted it really shows how much he wants to help. So moving on from that, Kit Harington and Rose Leslie are officially engaged. Kit Harington plays Jon Snow in Game of Thrones, and Rose Leslie played Ygritte, who was the wildling that Jon Snow hooked up with in one of the first seasons. So they got together after that, and they had a brief split, but they're back together, and they confirmed that last summer, actually. And now they're engaged, and they did it in the most cute way. They posted it in their local paper. Of course, this is adorable because people used to do this all the time. They announced their weddings by posting it in the local paper, and not many people do that anymore. We have new media coming along, and people post a picture on Instagram of the ring or something. But no, they announced the wedding in the paper. So way to go, you guys. I love this. This is so cute to me. Kit Harington is awesome, and so is Rose Leslie. So the fact that they're together is super exciting. Sofia Vergara, she's from Modern Family, of course. You guys have got to know who Sofia Vergara is. Well, she tops the list as the highest paid TV actress this past year, making $41.5 million. So not only is she getting that from Modern Family, but she also does a lot of commercials. Kaylee Cuoco, she got second, and she actually tied with Sofia Vergara last year, but she made $26 million this past year. And then Mindy Kaling tied with Ellen Pompeo from Grey's Anatomy for number 3. And Mindy's making a lot of this money from A Wrinkle in Time and then Ocean's 8. Of course, she's already cashing those checks. And Ocean's 8 is going to be so exciting. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Ocean's movies, Ocean's 11, 12, 13, and it has Matt Damon and George Clooney and Brad Pitt. Those movies are awesome. Well, it's a heavy male cast. So they're coming out with an Ocean's 8 that's going to be mainly female. So this is my dream come true, honestly. An even better dream come true would be if I was starring in it, but it's okay. The stars in it are pretty awesome, even without me. Rihanna, Sandra Bullock, Cate Blanchett, they're going to be in it. Anne Hathaway, Helena Bonham Carter, who of course plays in Harry Potter. She was what was her name? The evil lady, basically. Sarah Paulson, who of course is from American Horror Story, Mindy Kaling, which I already said, and Matt Damon will also be making an appearance in it, James Corden, so it's going to be a great movie. I have high hopes for it, and hopefully it turns out well. Fixer Upper. It's ending after its 5th season. JoJo came out with her husband, and they both said that it's done, that they don't want to do it anymore. They said that they've basically gotten everything they want from this, and it boiled down to not wanting their kids to grow up in the spotlight, which I completely understand. They have 4 little ones, the oldest being 12, and they don't want them to grow up in the spotlight. They want to take some time out of the spotlight and raise their family. They've got a lot going on right now. Not only do they have Magnolia Market, which of course has several lines of furniture and different design pieces that you can buy online. She has a blog. They have vacation rentals. They've written a book, and they have a second one coming out soon. They have a quarterly magazine. They have a real estate group, and they have a restaurant that's going to be opening up soon. So they have a lot going on, and they just, I guess, don't need to be on TV anymore. So the 5th season will be the last for Fixer Upper, and honestly, HGTV has a huge gap to fill because of that. Fixer Upper was, of course, my favorite show, and I think it was most people's favorite show. So yeah, Pretty Little Liars is getting a spinoff with Sasha and Janelle. Of course, they play Allison and Mona. It's going to be called Pretty Little Liars, The Perfectionist. Basically, it's going to be about the town and how it's so perfect and how the people in it seem so perfect, but then the pressures that go along with it. And then, of course, there's going to be a dark twist. There's going to be a murder. The classic Pretty Little Liars plot. But it should be interesting. They only got approved for a pilot, so the show isn't actually set to start yet. And I've got mixed emotions about it. I will probably watch it. I'll give it a try. What do you guys think? I want you guys to let me know what you think. You can either call in or you can let me know on Twitter, and we'll talk about it next show or whenever the show actually gets put on air, if it ever does. But my personal opinion is I didn't really like Pretty Little Liars. I watched it for so long, watched it from the beginning, and I had to quit. It frustrated me, and I think I actually went on a rant about this last show, but they just ask so many questions, and there's so much mystery, and then at the end of the season, they'll finally answer one question. And then next season will roll around. In the first episode, it will say something like, "We were all wrong." And then it's like they're all starting back over, and that's super frustrating to me. So once I realized how confused I was and I didn't remember who the people were and what was going on, I decided to quit watching the show. So maybe the spinoff will be better. I don't know. The Allison and Mona characters weren't some of my favorites, so I will give it a try, but I'm not really sure how I feel about it. But I want to know what y'all think, so let me know. Ryan Gosling is actually trying to get a role in Indiana Jones. So, of course, Indiana Jones. Last year they announced that Harrison Ford is coming back with director Steven Spielberg, and they're going to start up Indiana Jones again. But Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford are currently starring in a movie called Blade Runner 2049. And in a recent interview, they were asking him if he used that role, I guess, in getting to know Harrison Ford to ask for a role in Indiana Jones. And Ryan Gosling jokingly said, "Yeah, of course, but now you're ruining for me." And I think he's joking. I don't think Ryan Gosling has any interest in being in Indiana Jones, but I could be wrong. Just from the context of it, it seemed like he was joking. Personally, I think Chris Pratt should play Indiana Jones. He just has that whole thing that Harrison Ford had going on for him back in the day and still does. And I think he would be great as it. But, of course, he did Jurassic World and remade that, or came back and did another movie that went along the lines of that. So I don't know if it might be too much Chris Pratt for audiences. My opinion, I don't think it's too much Chris Pratt. He's a great actor and he's hilarious. I think he would be great for that role. But who knows? Apparently Ryan Gosling is trying to get it right now. So moving on from that, we before we get to the features, I just want to go through a quick list of my favorites from this past week. I won't do this every show, but there were a lot of things that made me excited in pop culture this week, and I just wanted to quickly run through it. So Demi's new album came out, and my roommate Kate actually told me that it came out, so I had to listen to it. I've been listening to it on replay this entire day. My favorite songs so far are Concentrate and Tell Me You Love Me, and of course Tell Me You Love Me is the title track. I think it's really good. Of course, still Sorry Not Sorry is the best song on the album in my opinion. That's her single that came out earlier this year. But it's a good album, so you should go check it out. Fergie, she has a new album, Double Dutchess, and her single that's been out, You Already Know. I'm obsessed with it. It's so good. When I wasn't listening to Demi before, I was listening to this song. And Fergie was on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen last week, and I just really, really like Fergie. I feel like I don't really think about her that much, and I felt like I used to not really care that much about what was going on, but she's been in the news a lot more lately, and I just really like her. She was really nice on the show, and I like her style. I like her brand, and it might be aggravating to some, but I like Fergie. So Listen to her new song, You Already Know. And then, of course, I watched the Will and Grace premiere from last week, and they still got it. I mean, they still had that same chemistry that they had years ago when the show was on, and I think that's awesome. It literally looks like they've aged maybe 2 years. It's incredible. But it was good. This episode was really political, and I love pop culture. And usually what they do is they make a lot of pop culture references, but I felt like this one was heavy political. So that bothered me a little bit, but I'm hoping the rest of the show won't be so much about politics. Of course, you're going to bring it up, but it was just really heavy in it, and that kind of bothered me a little bit. So hopefully they'll get back to making their pop culture references and the really funny, good episodes that they had before. And I watched Young Sheldon. I said last week that I was going to try to check it out, and it was okay. It was really cute. If you like really simple, cute, funny shows, this is for you. The little boy in it is adorable, and that's why it made the list, honestly, is because of that little boy. So adorable, and I absolutely loved his character in that. Of course, Young Sheldon is about Sheldon Cooper's character from Big Bang Theory, and it even has Jim Parsons, who plays Sheldon Cooper, like doing a voiceover, and it's about him whenever he was, I think, 8 and starting to go to high school, and just about his life growing up. It's super sweet, a lot more sweet than I thought it was going to be, so you can check that out. But moving on to the featured stories this week, we've got Avatar 2. Of course, Avatar was it was like the highest grossing movie of all times in 2009 whenever it premiered. And this new movie is going to be following Jake Sully's, which is the main character, and his significant other, Neytiri. I haven't watched the movie in forever, so I don't remember how to pronounce Zoe Saldana's character, but it's about their family and their kids. They began filming September 25th, and you can look it up online. I also shared it on my Twitter, so you can look at it there to see who the kids are that's going to be in it. But it's an adorable cast, and it's about their family and the children from another clan, and they're all under this new leader. And that's about as much information as they're giving, but, you know, from what the old movie was about, I don't know if they're going to go along the same lines. But if they are, then we know it's going to have to do with, you know, the environment and like the old movie was. But I was reading an article about it, and they were saying that the kids on set brought a new energy to everything because it's this newer generation for the world of Pandora. So that's exciting. It's going to be coming to theaters December 18th, 2020. So we have a little bit. But if you're wanting to get your Avatar fix in, you can always go to Disney World. Disney World in Florida, they got their Land of Pandora now in Animal Kingdom. I'm going in November. I'm really excited about it. They have tons of themed restaurants, of course. What's Disney without a themed restaurant? And they have tons of rides. And they also are going to have plenty of stuff that you can buy Avatar themed. So if you need your Avatar fix, that's where you can go. Moving on to our next featured story, we have some weird stuff that went on this past week in pop culture news. A love triangle involving Miss Piggy. So Miss Piggy and Kermit were, of course, married. They got married back in 1984 in the film The Muppets Take Manhattan. Well, Miss Piggy and Kermit, they broke up a couple summers back, the summer of 2015. And while Kermit has moved on, Miss Piggy hasn't really moved on much. Of course, she flirts with most. But in a recent tweet from Lily Reinhart, who plays Betty Cooper in Riverdale, we see that Miss Piggy might be moving on. So Lily Reinhart tweets out last week, September 27th, and it's supposed to be like a diary entry. And it says, September 26, 2017, 9 p.m. Dear Diary, I'm still thinking about how Miss Piggy walks all over Kermit, and he lets her. It's so messed up, Diary. Well, Miss Piggy sees the tweet. And if you know Miss Piggy, which you should know Miss Piggy, she's not just going to let somebody tweet about her and kind of talk a little bit bad about her without having her say in it. So Miss Piggy replies to the tweet and says, at Lily Reinhart, tell your diary that moi has moved on from walking over the frog. I'm looking for someone new. You got at Cole Sprouse's number? And that's obviously hilarious because Lily Reinhart and Cole Sprouse are dating in real life. Their characters, Betty Cooper and Jughead Jones, in the show Riverdale, are also dating. So many people have been wondering if Cole Sprouse and Lily are actually dating or not in real life, or if it's a publicity thing or what. But either way, they're dating. And so Miss Piggy is basically throwing shade at Lily, and Lily takes it with grace, honestly. She puts it on she screenshots it and puts it on her Instagram story and says, honored that Miss Piggy is throwing shade at me. It is an honor. I mean, it's Miss Piggy. But what makes this story even better and weird is that Cole Sprouse actually replied to Miss Piggy's tweet and said, ladies, please. So if you want to see it, I put it on my Twitter. Pretty hilarious. I love anytime like a fictional character will tweet back at somebody when they're talking about them. Would be a dream of mine. So Miss Piggy this week and Kermit last week. I don't know if you guys saw, but Kermit tweeted back at John Legend's wife. Her name is slipping my mind right now. But she was talking about how she almost got this tweet or this tattoo on her. Chrissy Teigen, that's her name, Chrissy Teigen, about how she almost got this tattoo of Kermit the Frog and was glad she never did. And Kermit the Frog tweeted back at her about that too. So some weird stuff going on in pop culture news. Moving on to our last featured story of the week, it's all about TRL. Of course, TRL stands for Total Request Line, and that was a show on MTV from September 1998 to November 2008, so it was about a 10-year-long show, and they would count down the 10 most popular music videos, and it was called Total Request Live because they would have viewers call in, and they would request music videos that they wanted to see, and they would call this toll-free number, request them, and then they would have the top 10 video countdown that day on the show. And they'd bring in guests and performances, and it was awesome. I loved it. I remember coming home from school every day and watching with my sister. I was always obsessed with music videos. Carson Daly hosted it, and the first performance was actually by NSYNC, and they performed their song Tearing at My Heart, which is, amazing, of course, 90s. And then Britney Spears still holds the top spot for the most number one spots for her music video being requested. She won 15 times. So would love to see who's going to take that title from her this year, but we won't be able to. So TRL is coming back, but they're not going to have a video countdown. They're wanting to rebrand themselves and, be their own selves. They don't want to be just like the old one, which to a certain extent I get, but I think that the video countdown is what made them so awesome. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. Carson Daly will not be on the show. In fact, they will have a 25-year-old rapper and internet personality named DC Young Fly. He actually appeared on MTV's Wild 'N Out. And then there's a group called TRL Squad, and it's comprised of I think it's about 4 people and a couple content creators, and all of them together are part of this squad that will be helping him lead the show. It's a lot of young people in the mix, so we'll see how that show goes. You'll have to check it out. Of course, it's coming on MTV soon. So looking forward, we've got Don't Be Tardy coming out on October 6th, 8 p.m. Bravo. That's this Friday. Don't Be Tardy is a show that follows the life of Kim Zolciak Biermann, who was on Real Housewives of Atlanta. She was one of the OGs, and she's actually coming back this year to Real Housewives of Atlanta on November 5th as a friend. As she quotes, more than a friend, but less than an original, what is it called? Well, she's not going to be one of the main people anymore, but she's more than a friend. She's not just going to be there for a couple episodes. She'll actually be there for half the season. So that's really exciting. And so her show that follows her and her family is premiering this Friday. This is a couple seasons in, actually. It's a great show. I've been watching it. The family cracks me up. Kim is hilarious. She's always seen with a red Solo cup. It's always got wine in it. She goes everywhere with it. And her family's hilarious. She's got this great chef named Tracy who's also funny. Her kids, of course, she's got like 1 million kids. So that show is premiering, the new season is premiering this Friday. So you have that to look forward to. You also can look forward to the CW doing what they did to Riverdale to Sabrina the Teenage Witch. They're taking the Teenage Witch story and they're going to make it darker like what they did in Riverdale, but they're going to put their CW twist on it. So of course it's going to be dark and sexy and intriguing. So you have that to look forward to. Also this Saturday, Gal Gadot is going to be hosting SNL. So that with musical guest Sam Smith is really exciting because, as we talked about last week, Gal Gadot is fantastic. So wrapping up the show, I gotta talk about my salty moment from last week. We all have our salty moments, and I typically have them more than most people, but this week I actually could not think of a salty moment. I was very surprised, just as surprised as you guys all are, but then it hit me. I knew, alas, it would come back, my saltiness. Kingsman Golden Circle. It got a C from Entertainment Weekly. I have not seen a single good review about this movie, and that makes me so sad. Of course, it's the sequel to the Kingsman movie that came out a couple years back, and I had high hopes for this one. The first one was very good, and this one was supposed to have a killer cast, including Channing Tatum, and I was really excited about it, but it got a C. Of course, I'll have to watch it for myself to see what I think, to figure out if I'm salty at the critics for not giving it a good review, even though it deserves it, or if I'm salty at the movie for not being a good movie. Guess we'll have to find that out, and I'll get back to you guys. But since I don't want to end on any kind of negative note, my peachy moment from this week is actually a Tom Cruise movie checklist that Entertainment Weekly wrote about in their magazine. So they were talking about his new movie coming out called American Made, where he plays this typical Tom Cruise character of a CIA operative turned drug smuggler. Of course, it's an action comedy. Typical Tom Cruise, like I said. But they have this little sidebar of the Tom Cruise checklist. It is great because if you watch a lot of Tom Cruise movies, which I think we all do because honestly we love the typical Tom Cruise character, then you can definitely relate to this checklist. It says lots of running, check. Stunts, check. Yelled dialogue, check. His crazy laugh, which I think we all get stuck in our heads, check. And then of course, classic sunglasses, check. So if you like this classic Tom Cruise character, check out the movie American Made because you're going to see a lot of it. So that's our show, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Again, follow me on Twitter at Robin_McIntyre. I post everything we talk about on the show. I post so much more than that. And I also want suggestions from you guys. Anything that you think the show needs to improve, anything you want to talk about. If there's something crazy that happened and you want me to talk about it or you want me to look more into it, let me know and I'll do that. But in the meantime, have a great week and tune in next week again, Monday at 7. I'll be here and I hope that you're here too. Have a great week, everyone.